Viewers, you're watching the Explosive Exclusive with me and Navika, Kumar, and we can tell you now with certainty, viewers, that the CBI has hit the ground running in Mumbai. In just a few hours, the entire contingent of more than 15 CBI officials will be there, and they have already begun to focus on this Dubai link is proving to be really the one that perhaps could hold the key to the suspicious death of Sushant Singh Rajput.
That's right, Rahul. It is the Dubai link that's set the cat amongst the pigeons. This Dubai link will hold answers to what really happened on 14th of June. The Dubai link also has a role to play between the 8th and the 14th of June, what transpired in Sushant Singh Rajput's residence. Remember, there were 5 people in Sushant Singh Rajput's house at the time when the alleged suicide took place. These people could hold the key to these investigations, and the CBI is looking very, very surely at this Dubai angle. The kind of marks that have been found on Sushant Singh Rajput's neck, the kind of operation that this was carried out in, whether it was a suicide, where doubts have now been expressed that this was a suicide. Now another angle is being probed, and that angle is about the Dubai link and experts coming in from Dubai for this very, very fine job of using certain weapons to give a suicide-like look, but actually it was a murder. That's the lead that is being followed by the CBI, and this Dubai link will play an important role. In fact, in the next 24 hours, we will have details of this Dubai link, which really gives a whole new twist to this entire case. Experts coming from there. Who were they playing with? What
Absolutely.
was the massive plan? What was the big flow chart on who all were involved? Is the piecing together of pieces of this jigsaw puzzle.
Viewers, you will remember that the Supreme Court yesterday pulled up, gently though, because it didn't want to obviously cross the lines of decorous discourse. But viewers, the Supreme Court did pull up the Mumbai Police for not looking beyond the scope of a very narrow inquiry. Now, they said yesterday that the Mumbai Police should have filed an FIR because by doing so, it could have expanded the scope of an investigation. But they kept it to an inquiry. Even the Supreme Court, perhaps, viewers, has been made aware. Remember that there were submissions that were made by the counsel of Sushant Singh Rajput, by the Bihar police, that there might be a very strong foul play angle. So the first and the most important leads that the CBI is going to examine are those that don't have anything to do with a suicide, but to have everything to do with foul play. That's what we can tell you. And the Dubai link, of course, the investigation into this Dubai link is being welcomed by former RAW officials as well as Dr. Subramanian Swamy, who has from day one said that there is much more than meets the eye to this entire case. Let's play that out. Let's play that out in just a few moments. But Navika, I just want to quickly come back to you on this. You see, the very suspicious circumstances under which first the Maharashtra Home Minister on day one said this was a suicide, and after that the police sort of didn't even go beyond an inquiry, didn't even file an FIR, shows that perhaps there was undue haste or something much more than that to keep this inquiry restricted just to suicide.
Well, Rahul, you know how Mumbai has operated in the past.
Yeah.
The nexus between underworld, Bollywood, police and politicians is the script of many, many films of Bollywood, and it is based on a few truths. We know the nexus that has existed in the past. You can, read reams and reams and reams of stuff that's come out in the past, whether it was the 1993 blast, whether it was Sanjay Dutt, whether it was Haji Mastan, there was a phase when there were these extortion calls that were being made. There was this attempted shot taken at, a big producer like Rakesh Roshan. All of this is part of folklore in Bollywood. For a while, all this had become silent.
Yes. Everybody
had become careful not to leave trails behind. And this whole nexus of a cartel of partying, high quality, ecstasy kind of, drugs and tablets drugs. And recreational drugs, film plots, wealth, wining, dining, dancing, partying, underworld, money flowing in. Whether it's resurfaced its head, that really is the story. And whether it had links to this, well, piecing together of that as an investigation angle is what the CBI is beginning with.
Okay, so we're getting reactions on this story. Dr. Subramanian, Swamy, as well as N.K. Sood, former RAW officer. Let's listen in.
It is what is called as cartelization of Bombay, which has taken place. The rich people, the Bollywood, where money flows in black like water, and the police, which gets a cut for every crime they look the other way. And but the more important disturbing fact is that all these three things require the help of the money launderers sitting in Dubai. And therefore, they are professional killers there. And we saw this in other murders.
I think the CBI should go deeper. The surrounding circumstances should be deeper, not just laterally, but even horizontally well into that, and dig out more and more about the presence of these type of mafia don in the corporates and mafia dons and all those things, how the Bollywood mafia, the cabal, everything, their linkages can be brought out. It's a very well-sent opportunity the Supreme Court has given them. I hope they do their justice to the job. The entire trail has to be pursued about the growth path, about the integrative approaches of these crime syndicates and the Bollywood groups and certain elements in the Mumbai Police. This needs to be brought to the fore. I hope the CBI does justice on that.
Now, you've heard it, viewers, you've heard it. There is definitely something here, and the CBI is going to focus on this very clearly. Rhea Chakraborty had also traveled, of course, to the Middle East, to, in fact, the UAE. She was in Dubai. We know that she met a large number of individuals there, and many people are saying that the mastermind of the conspiracy could be in the UAE. So the CBI is going to perhaps question Rhea very, very soon. In fact, she is one among 6 individuals that are going to be questioned. And we are being told, Navika, that all bets are off. She could even be taken into custody there.
Well, clearly, there have been 2 rounds of questioning that Rhea has already done with the Enforcement Directorate. The CBI will be looking at definitely the people in the house, and Rhea will be called in for questioning by the CBI. Sources in the CBI are telling me that it depends on how much she cooperates with the agency on day 1 of the questioning, based on which they will have their future plan, because they already have questions and inconsistencies in various statements being given out by Rhea Chakraborty. It will depend on how much she is able to give an explanation for those inconsistencies.
And a convincing one.
Absolutely. And how much between her and her brother they are able to give the details of the financial transactions that have happened through Sushant Singh Rajput's bank account. In fact, the family says they have accounts or information only of about 1 bank account, but the others, other bank accounts were known only to Rhea and Shruti Modi. So Rhea her deposition along with Shruti Modi and Rhea Chakraborty will be the first task of the CBI, and then confronting each other, with all of these dramatis personae, and then trying to look at how many inconsistencies come will depend on the arrest prospect.
Let's just go straight across to some of our reporters on the ground. Let me first go straight across to both Nikunj and Priyank and Bhavtosh. CBI beginning to focus on 2 or 3 angles in priority, viewers, and that's what I really want to talk to you about. First things first, we are being told that the entire focus is going to also be on recreating the crime scene, Priyank, because that is something that the Mumbai Police did not do effectively. So just talk us through this, because the CBI seems to be convinced that you cannot rule out foul play.
See, Rahul, in this particular case, the CBI will have to look into the scientific evidences because most of them are actors, and we have seen that how they have been blatantly lying on the national television. Like if you look at Siddharth Patani, he kept on changing his statement. Since these were the people who were inside the house, so later in the stage, the CBI can also go for, other methods of bringing out truth from their mouth through scientific method. But in the initial process, they need to get into the specific of how this death of Sushant Singh Rajput happened inside his flat, and for that what they have done, they are coming to the city of Mumbai with 6 CFSL expert, and that also includes Dr. Sudhir Gupta, Rahul, who has been the head of the AIIMS forensic department dealing with these kind of high profile cases. Not even that, he had dealt with several cases where there have been several tremendous pressure on him also, but he has come out with the fact. In Sunanda Pushkar case, we have seen that how
absolutely, and there are of course 10 focus areas. We're going to go to that scoop, but Navika, look, at the end of this entire episode, as that breaking news comes in, you've spoken to a very important voice from Bollywood, Navika, very, very important voice.
That's
and
right.
This individual is talking about the bullying tactics that outsiders are subjected to, isn't it?
Absolutely, and he's somebody who's been the butt of the bullying tactics. He's somebody who has spent a lot of time with Sushant Singh Rajput. He knows exactly what Sushant Singh Rajput was going through. This is the person who gives a first-hand account of what really transpired and how they tried to break the resolve of this small town boy who came into Mumbai, who did well, struck gold, and then was pushed against the wall. And this insider is somebody who's written the scripts of films that SSR worked in.
So he knew him, who has worked very, very closely with Sushant Singh Rajput, knows his mind, knows his instincts, knows how he reacts, knows his character, and he says that definitely they were trying to intimidate and bully this young man.
Absolutely, and blind.
That's the stunning truth of the B-Town bullies. Viewers, hear the Sushant B-Town story. Navika, what did he tell you?
Well, he scripted the whole story of how Sushant Singh Rajput actually had the conviction to take on a script that many other top-notch actors had refused. Kai Poche was a film where there was no romance, no romantic lead. It was not your quintessential Bollywood film. It was a Gujarat story. And at that time, he said Gujarat was somewhat of a taboo. Many big actors refused that particular project. But Sushant Singh came in there and he set the cat amongst the pigeons because the movie did well, the story did well, and Sushant Singh Rajput had arrived on the Bollywood scene. After which he went on to notch up success after success, and MS Dhoni was the turning point because that was a blockbuster. That was a cricket, Bollywood, small town boy, Mahendra Singh Dhoni coming from Jharkhand, Sushant Singh Rajput coming from Patna, from Bihar, and he portrayed that entire story. And we're piecing together all the people in Sushant Singh Rajput's life.
But he tells you that he's been asked to keep quiet on Sushant Singh Rajput.
He was.
And he tells you this.
He says that he was asked to keep quiet.
Don't give it away, because that interview is going to be playing out at 9.
He says he was asked to keep quiet. Himself, he was said that Sushant Singh should also be keeping quiet, otherwise people will write things about him. He talks about a cartel of film critics who work in connivance or in unison with producers, directors, big stars. It's a cartel. He talks about how this cartel operates in Bollywood. It's all there. It's all there. He says,
so
he
there
names
is a
few people.
cartel that is working to keep out good talent that comes from outside, to keep it all within the kind of clan, family, mafia situation. This is very, very, very insidious. Navika, this is a question that was asked. We're not going to give it away, viewers. You'll have to stick around. 9 o'clock is when we are going to air this tell-all interview. And if you really want to get an insight into what Sushant Singh Rajput has gone through in Bollywood, you'll have to watch this. This will tell you, this is completely unfiltered. It is unfiltered. This is somebody who worked. This is not Kangana Ranaut who is speaking, out of her own experience. But this is somebody who can tell you what Sushant Singh Rajput went through. This is first-hand. In the absence of Sushant Singh Rajput, this is the closest you can get. Let's just play out a clip of this.
I want to begin where many people actually end. Do you think this was a suicide? Or do you believe, like the rest of India, that this was murder?
So here you go, viewers. Here you go. This is the question that was asked of Mr. Bhagat. Mr. Bhagat has, of course, worked with Sushant Singh Rajput, knows his psyche inside out, knows the kind of person he is, knows how sensitive he was to performance, the requirements of the job, understands how this actor, method actor as he was, immersed himself into a character. And therefore, viewers, it will be very important to get first-hand information from Chetan Bhagat as to whether he believes that Sushant Singh Rajput could have committed suicide. I'm not going to give it away. You'll have to listen in to what he said. But let's listen to the second question that was asked. Very, very important, viewer. Let's listen in.
Do you think this story is a part of their creative imagination? Because as the truth or as the events are unfolding, not many are taking this theory at face value.
Well, there you go, viewers. There you go. So Navika, here is an individual who is going to open up for the first time on whether this was a murder or does he believe this was a suicide. And he can speak, can't he? Because if it has
He's a wordsmith. He's written novels, 8 of them. And all of them have been bestsellers.
He knows the man. He knows the man.
He knows the man. And he talks about the similarities between them. And the only similarity is not the fact that they both come from an engineering background. I don't want to say more, but he talks about the similarities, the discussions he and Sushant have had on this kind of an issue, on the cartel that exists within Bollywood. And he talks about facets of Sushant Singh Rajput. And he will tell you on the depression theory and why this depression theory actually was being sold. It had a plan behind it. And
so he's going to tell you this tonight.
Chetan Bhagat,
9 p.m.
Chetan Bhagat is going to be revealing what was the plan, how it happened, why it happened, how Sushant Singh Rajput and his soul, his conviction was being beaten down, and he was fighting back. And that's something Bollywood does not allow outsiders to do, to fight back, to make a foothold, to make their own futures, to have people coming after them, fawning over them.
Viewers' names will be taken. People will be shamed. And questions will be asked of those individuals. And we can tell you that because of what Chetan Bhagat will say, I won't put it past the CBI to go back to some of those individuals who will be named for questioning. Because if this was well planned, if the executors of all of this were sitting in a foreign location, using individuals here, all of this will piece together seamlessly. Let's listen into the other questions that were asked.
He was determined, he would work out, he was meticulous in the way he researched for a role. But he was a little lost, you think, in the politics of Bollywood? And is there a lot of it?
Navika?
Politics in Bollywood, that's the question I asked him. And then came tumbling out the deep, dark secrets of Bollywood. What kind of politics, how it's played out, how the entire nexus really works. And they go after people, they decide. And it's a cartel approach. They all decide who their target is, and then what happens? They just go after. They just go after, and how it happens, how it plays out is something Chetan Bhagat, the insider, outsider, talking all about it, saying that.
And he's suffered himself, hasn't he? He's also, and he's going to name people who have gone after him, isn't it, Navika?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And he's not a bad loser. No. This is somebody, Chetan Bhagat himself has an IIT background. He's not a loser. He's
very successful.
He's successful. Yeah. He's intelligent. He's seen the world. He's traveled. He's had a corporate job. He understands. He understands how it works. And he is. Unlike Sushant, a city-bred man.
Yeah, and he's hard-boiled. He's hard-boiled.
Absolutely.
He's not somebody who is going to get intimidated easily. He's sort of been through it. But nonetheless, if this is what is actually transpired, well, heart goes out to Sushant Singh Rajput. He's not here. No one deserves this, viewers. No one deserves this.
And something, Rahul, which I keep hearing from the family. And the family always thought that he was probably a boy in love. He wasn't being able to, sort of adjust with this live-in thing, which is not somewhat of a done thing in slightly conservative families like where he came from. And that was it. That was the only, problem, and they would all work it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the family says they never thought that it was going to be real risk to his life. Even when the complaint was made, it was agitation.
Well, they had a premonition, did they not? They said that
they thought it wasn't going the normal way.
He's got into the wrong set here. They, as you said, cartels, they come after you. They can. They can stage everything. They can bring people into your life. You don't know what's hit you. And before you wake up to it, it might be too late.
They had the premonition, but they did think it would go this far.
Yes.
Otherwise, would any family stay out of it?
Yeah.
And that's what Chetan talks about.
They tried to get in there, but it just proved to be difficult. Let's listen to the last question. We'll take a break after that. Yes.
This entire nepotism, insider versus outsider, was more of a problem, or do you think it was mental illness, which has been talked about, that he was mentally ill and he was not getting films, he was not having enough money, and he had burnt out, and that was why he got into this group?
Viewers, there are others who have now come out and are beginning to speak, and they're beginning to name names. And one individual who you're going to hear tonight at 9 p.m. is Chetan Bhagat. Chetan Bhagat is no ordinary bystander, viewers. He is quite literally an individual who knew Sushant Singh Rajput inside out. And we can say this with conviction because they worked together.
They worked together, they spent time together, they even sort of got into their weight training and the gym regimen together. They went to each other's houses. They, what is said in Bollywood lingo, hung out with each other. And both had a similar fascination for sciences, astronomy, and they spent hours chatting. And Chetan Bhagat, spoke long with Sushant. He knew what was happening, why Sushant was being pushed onto the back foot, why he was being made defensive, how he had been targeted and blind articles were put out against him without any
pictures coming of Rumi
ethics.
Jaffrey, Navika. This,
and Rumi Jaffrey is one person who also was speaking to Sushant, for a film that they needed to do together. The Enforcement Directorate today wanted to question him on how deeply was Rhea associated with Rumi Jaffrey in the conversation on Sushant's own profession, and how his life slipped out of his own control because of the people he had around him, or people who found their way into his close circle. That is the telling tale that Chetan Bhagat
Let's just quickly go across to a quick live on this. Rumi Jaffrey, 7-hour marathon ends. ED interrogates the filmmaker. Navika told you the context. Let me just very quickly go across to the reporters here on this. Siddhant, what's happening here? What was the questioning about? Bhavtosh, what was the questioning about?
Well, Rahul, in fact, Rumi Jaffrey signed a contract with Sushant Singh Rajput and Rhea Chakraborty for a film. ED wanted to know whether there was any formal contract signed. If a formal contract was signed, what was the money that was being paid to him, and if there was an advance money paid to him, who in fact received that money, whether it was done through cash or whether it went to his bank account, and more importantly, whether Rhea forced Rumi Jaffrey and other producers of the movie to sign her as a lead actress. Now, Rumi Jaffrey, in fact, was questioned for 7 hours. He was also asked, interestingly, to bring his bank statement as well as his income tax records, and also details of the movie that he was in fact directing, who were the financier, who were the bankers. ED wants to understand the functioning of the Bollywood, how actors are signed and how they get money, and that was the reason why Rumi Jaffrey was called in for questioning. On 16th of June, he in fact said that he had signed Rhea as well as Sushant for a movie. They wanted to know whether Rhea pressurized Rumi Jaffrey to sign her as a lead actress.
The arm twisting angle, Rahul, because that was one of the theories and that was one of the complaints that Rhea was actually using Sushant, as a climber to try and get more projects for himself, and that is something
that's what
that's
you were
named.
Saying. The cabal works. This entire cartel works.
And that's why the questioning wanted to ascertain just what kind of a role was it, and is it borne out? What is being said by the family in the FIR, is it borne out by producers and directors who were signing Sushant and was Rhea virtually pushing herself as a package deal with Sushant Singh Rajput? That's the angle of investigation. More breaking news coming in at this point in time. Mumbai Police Chief Parambir Singh reaches Mantralaya. He is getting into a meeting with the Home Minister, Mr. Anil Deshmukh of the NCP. Kajal Iyer joins us for more on this. Also Siddhant Mishra. Siddhant, what's on the table for discussion between both the Mumbai Police Chief and the Home Minister of Maharashtra?
Well, Navika, Mumbai Police Chief has managed to get confidence of the political bosses again. There was speculation last afternoon of him resigning or him being sacked, but there's nothing like that. All the top notch of Mumbai Police is safe currently. Now, the fact is, Navika, yesterday they told us that they will go ahead with the inquest proceeding under 174 of the CRPC, which is obviously not equal to a parallel investigation, but somewhere they said that they want want to complete their investigation. But the fact remains, Navika, that the case has already been taken over by CBI. CBI teams are landing in Mumbai today evening, no time from now. And at the same time, a meeting which is currently going on at Mantralaya, where all top officers of Mumbai Police, including Parambir Singh Commissioner, is in a meeting with Anil Deshmukh. So, you can see the developments taking place in Mumbai Police as far as Mumbai Police is concerned, because we've also been told that, Mumbai
and I want to bring in Nikunj on this. There is talk, Nikunj, that the Mumbai Police is going to continue with its inquiry. It'll be a parallel inquiry. They are not going to back off. Is this something that they can do without attracting the ire of the Supreme Court?
Well, Rahul, as long as they cooperate with the Central Bureau of Investigation in the true spirit of the strength of the order behind this probe, which is handing over all the case-related documents, all the other evidentiary material, like the cell phones or any other technical evidence that they have gathered during the inquest investigations, and more critically, passing on all the necessary leads that inquest investigation has generated so far. Quite clearly, when you have spoken to close to 6 people, that would have certainly generated multiple leads in any kind of inquiry or investigation that you may name it. So as long as all of that is passed and Mumbai Police is assisted in the true spirit of taking them to the post-mortem doctors, to the first responders, to the hospital staffers, I do not think that the Central Bureau of Investigation will have a problem with the inquest investigations. But I would like to add 2 things here, Rahul, very, very quickly on the Dubai and any other aspect of cartelization in Bollywood that could have pushed Mr. Rajput to take his own life. The Central Bureau of Investigation, under a rarest of rare circumstances, this is probably for the first time that I remember that a alleged suicide/homicide case has been handed over to the CBI by the Supreme Court of India, saying that there is enough acrimony between the two competing law enforcement agencies, and hence Central Bureau of Investigation, country's premier law enforcement agency, is in the best position to probe it. CBI, with this overarching mandate, must get into all of these talk that we have heard all along our lives about cartelization, about underworld. Remember Gulshan Kumar's death. Gulshan Kumar was pumped a hail of bullets in full public light, and the poor man who had risen actually from the ranks to become one of the multimillionaires of Bollywood lost his life. Nadeem, who was supposed to be behind it, was never punished by the Indian law. So there has been a lot of suffering that people from outside, particularly, I'm not saying insiders have gone through in those dirty, dingy, treacherous bylanes of what many would call is our extensions of one of our premier film industries associations. So CBI must probe into all of those aspects. They are fully competent, they have jurisdiction, they can marshal the resource outside India, and all of these aspects from Dubai, from remember Nadeem fled to UK and he continued to remain there. In fact, so much so government of India had to pay damages to Nadeem for bringing charges against him in foreign court of law. So all of these aspects must be for once and all born clear, completely made threadbare, clear to all of us, to the entire citizenry, for them to have faith in this country's systems, that nobody is an outcast or a pariah in one of the premier industries of this country, in an industry on which the entire country has great amount of pride in and is a great brand ambassador for this country, that outsiders can also go and outshine what many would say are insiders.
Okay, all of this is getting all very murky once again, with the CBI stepping in, pulling out exclusive details that were buried thus far by the Mumbai Police. But
and in this footage, it's very clear that Sandeep Singh was present. In fact, he even in his testimony to us said that he was the one who spent the whole night at Cooper Hospital. He was the one who took the details of Sushant Singh Rajput in terms of his Aadhaar card, his ID proof, etc., and stood there at the hospital. Remember, at that time, only Sushant's Mumbai sister Neetu was there in Mumbai, and she was clearly shell-shocked with the developments of the day. And and Sandeep Singh actually stepped in at that point in time to stand by with the family. This footage has been there with us, and the testimony of Sandeep Singh has been there. He was the one who was also, taking...
well, there is a person, the stretcher
in the black
attendant,
t-shirt.
in the black t-shirt and the white cap, or off-white pinkish cap. There you can see him. Let's go across to Pranesh. Pranesh Roy joins us. Yes, Pranesh.
Right, Rahul, this is the footage. This has been doing the rounds on social media for some time now. And what you can see is Sandeep Singh, close associate of Sushant Singh Rajput. This is outside the Cooper Hospital. You can see the ambulance also, and there's another set of pictures. This is Sandeep Singh talking to some of his friends, maybe outside the Cooper Hospital. The Mumbai Police personnel also there. And this is the ambulance in which the mortal remains of Sushant Singh Rajput were brought from his home in Bandra to the Cooper Hospital. There's another set of footage that Akash Bhai will now open, and this is also doing the rounds on social media. This shows two ambulances. Let's go to that theory. Let's go to that theory, and here it is. This is that theory. This gentleman here says videos of black mystery boy arriving and leaving Sushant's building. Here is the footage of first ambulance arriving and the second ambulance leaving Sushant's building. Black mystery boy with pink cap arrived in first ambulance but left in the second ambulance. Look at this carefully. This is that boy wearing black dress, and many people are now saying that how is it possible that this man who arrived in ambulance number 1, it had some problems, we were being told, which is why another ambulance had to be called. But he came in ambulance 1 but left with ambulance number 2. What was going on here? Did the Mumbai police even try to find out? So these are the two videos that are now doing the rounds on social media. Rahul, Navika.
Well, this is very interesting. So what you're trying to suggest is that all of this footage is raising questions about the circumstances. Navika, that's really what the story is boiling down to. More than one stretcher, more than one ambulance, exactly same set of individuals flitting between one ambulance to the other. Let's go back to that footage. Navika, what do you make of it?
Well, the fact was, and that in the video is Sandeep Singh, friend of Sushant. People have even questioned his presence on why he was allowed into the house at that time, because he hadn't really been around Sushant for a while. The police really did not seal that spot, the scene of crime. People were coming in and out, and the black mystery boy, there was a mystery girl with a striped t-shirt, who some people on social media have even looked at and said that some say it is Jamila, some even speculate that it could have been...
Well, let's get across Shehzad Poonawalla on this. Sushant Poonawalla will just join us. But the bonhomie between Sandeep, the police, it's thumbs up signs. There's something odd. If you remember, the police was just standing even around the apartment complex of Sushant Singh Rajput, allowing that man with the white hat and the black t-shirt.
And he's messaging someone.
And they're all having a good time talking, and there's thumbs up signs being exchanged. Shehzad Poonawalla joins us. Sushant Singh Rajput's case has been arousing many questions, Shehzad. This latest footage from Cooper Hospital also raises a set of questions. Shehzad.
Absolutely. Rahul, the entire reason why the Uddhav Thackeray Sarkar has been becoming a wall between the CBI and investigations is now evident, because the Mumbai Police was actually doing the world's greatest cover-up job. And in fact, it is thanks to Times Now that has brought out so many questions that are now being raised on the entire so-called investigation by Mumbai Police. Today, we must get answers that why were there two ambulances? Why was the crime scene not sealed? Why was the Mumbai Police not registering an FIR? FIR? Why was it not doing a proper investigation, which has come under question? Why is the BMC still threatening that they will quarantine the CBI officers if they come? Why is it that Mr. Sharad Pawar is saying that the CBI investigation is of no use even before it has started? This shows that a world's biggest cover-up job by the world's so-called best CM was underway, perhaps to defend the world's best Yuva Neta. These raise many questions.
Yes, very serious allegations being made by Shehzad Poonawalla. Now, Shehzad, obviously there'll be many people who will say that, this entire story is becoming heavily politicized with all sorts of insinuations. How do you defend against that charge? Looking at these pictures, viewers, a lot looks very out of place. Individuals who didn't know Sushant Singh Rajput are escorting his body. The people who are the inner circle are nowhere to be seen. One disappears into the ether with a bag in his hand. There is no attempt to seal the premises. Somebody else enters the building who is also not connected. All the individuals who are supposed to be playing a role are not playing a role. Those who are not supposed to be playing a role are playing a role. Shehzad?
On the question of politicization, you should pose that question to Sanjay Raut and Anil Deshmukh. But this Sandeep Singh, who I can see in the video, he was nowhere in the picture. He claimed to be a best friend, and he was, in fact, after he and that other Pithani, Navika Kumar, exposed them on air. After that, they have run away. And I challenged them that they should come and explain what was the presence of this Sandeep Singh. And this is the main link between even the Disha Salian case. I'm sorry, people have come and said there's no link between Disha Salian and Sushant's so-called murder. I would not go to say that it's an Atmahatya at all, but I think that now we must have the CBI inquiring this man, Pithani and others, and also should bring in the Disha angle, and they should investigate the Disha angle. Of course, CBI is going to reach Mumbai and they're going to do the entire investigation. So imagine, Rahul, without your intervention on day 66, we basically have zero investigation. It is starting from today evening by Times Now and by the CBI reaching Mumbai. And 66 days, this is the world's so-called best police. No investigation has happened. No FIR. Nobody arrested.
There are two locations. One, of course, at the funeral, and one at home when the body is taken out. And Sandeep Singh's presence, his thumbs up to Mumbai Police, him touching the stretcher, also texting people, those visuals on your screen, two ambulances.
Big breaking in the group, if you could just access that. Navika, this has been put out by Times Now's executive editor, Hector Kenneth. Very important details now surfacing. Viewers, this story is getting murkier, especially now that the CBI has taken over. All this hidden, call it truth or call it facts or call it leads, are now beginning to emerge. Navika.
That's right. Also, sources that we are telling us that Rhea Chakraborty went to Cooper Hospital to see Sushant Singh Rajput's mortal remains. That picture on your screens, it raises questions how she was allowed inside the mortuary. She was inside for a good 45 minutes, that too during COVID times. Who allowed her at a time when she didn't even come for the funeral? She says the family had not given permission. But how was she allowed to go to the mortuary? That is the big question. Siddhant joins me on the phone line. Siddhant, how was Rhea allowed to go across to the mortuary at a time when she was neither allowed at home nor at the funeral? Isn't the family's permission necessary before any visitors are allowed into the mortuary? Did she get help from somebody big in Mumbai to get the permissions to go inside a mortuary in Cooper Hospital? And which is why this whole theory of why Cooper Hospital, why not any other hospital, are being raised, Siddhant?
That's right, Navika. I've been speaking to some officials in CBI. Now, what they're telling me is that it has come to their light that it was Rhea who went later to see Sushant's mortal remains at Cooper Hospital. Now, the doubts are being raised that how, as she is not directly in blood relation with Sushant first. Second, they are also questioning she was inside the Cooper Hospital with two other people for good about 45 minutes she was inside. And the third very important thing is, Navika ji, that those were the COVID times and norms were really strict at mortuary and hospitals. So how she was allowed inside, and let me tell you, it also raises suspicion because there was nobody at the hospital. Then later the photo got leaked. There were some photographers standing there. So CBI teams will be looking into this particular angle, especially that during COVID times and the norms are so strict, then why she was allowed inside the mortuary and who allowed her.
Well, more visuals coming in. Let me go across to Pranesh Roy. Pranesh, we have the video of Rhea Chakraborty going into the mortuary. What permission? And that brings in the bigwigs angle, the connections angle. Clearly, to get permission to go into the mortuary, you would need permission from somebody who is really connected.
Exactly,
Pranesh?
Navika. Several questions being raised now that this footage has gone viral on social media. This is Rhea Chakraborty, and many believe that this is from outside the Cooper Hospital. Let's play it now. Here she emerges out of this gate, maybe her associates accompanying her. But the question is, who allowed Rhea to enter Cooper Hospital? Because this is where post-mortem, the autopsy of Sushant Singh Rajput was going on. Let's go back, let's play it from the beginning once again. Rhea Chakraborty, from that day when Sushant's post-mortem was being conducted in the Cooper Hospital. Another set of visuals accessed by Times Now. We showed you pictures of Sandeep Singh, close friend of Sushant Singh Rajput, outside the Cooper Hospital, and this is Rhea. This is Rhea. Here you see, let's pause it here. This is Rhea Chakraborty here outside the Cooper Hospital, and the question is, she was inside for good 45 minutes. Who allowed her? Who are the other people? Did the Mumbai police even try to find out? These are questions that will have to be answered.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Let's play that video slowly, because we also need to see who are the associates who are coming in and out with Rhea Chakraborty, and that also could give us a clue on who was really taking her inside. Let's play that video once again.
This is that clip, and this is the moment when Rhea emerges out of the gate. Now I can't make out who these three individuals are. One in the white shirt, this lady here, and the man
to somebody. Clearly, he's the person who's taking them in and knows the people there. Is that Shruti Modi with her?
Maybe, Navika. She could be Shruti Modi, and this man here, many people are telling me this, in fact, social media, the commentary is that this could be Shovit, Rhea's brother.
Well, we'll be coming back to this. Viewers will be coming back to this. This is getting much bigger. This story by the minute and by the hour. Now that the CBI is into this case, there is a Dubai link, there is new footage, it's all happening. We come right back.